Hey, film friends, I'm Nick Furman. This is Furman on Film, a podcast where we break down movies with some of my closest friends and special guests. But this week, guys, I have no guest. It's just me, alone, beaten down by a cruel and unfeeling society. Sound like someone else you know? Well, good. It's time for me to get a lot of negative things off my chest. Let's talk about Joker, Folie, Adieu. Okay. My oh my, what a hot piece of garbage. Thing is, I think I know what Phillips is trying to do to me here, and I'm the idiot who's fallen for it anyway. But I'm getting ahead of myself. All right. Where do you guys want to start? I guess with the plot, though that's not really what's important here. Spoiler alert for the first Joker movie. In case you're not one of the billion plus people who watched that commercial blockbuster success that somehow both comic book fans and critics alike seem to love. Though you will not count me in that number. More of that in a minute. Basically, you got a guy named Arthur Fleck who's kind of down and out in the drab city of Gotham. People treat him like trash. He's discarded by society despite signs of mental illness, abuse, and neglect. So when Arkham Insane Asylum proves to be about as helpful as a blue vote in the state of Pennsylvania in the last election, the dude snaps. Enter murderous rage, a few killings here, an appearance on a late night TV program ganked right out of a scene from Scorsese's The King of Comedy there, and we've got 5 dead bodies and a city set alight by this new makeup-laden clown figure named Joker, who's become a symbol or a hero or everyman for the downtrodden everywhere. The system? Wow. The system effed me, I effed them back. That seems to be the summary of the first film. And that's where we're left when this film opens, with Arthur back in Arkham awaiting a trial for the 5 deaths from the previous film. All well and good, right? Wrong. But none of this explains why I haven't hated a movie as much as I despised Folie Adieu in a long time. But I'm getting there. All right, humor me for a second while I've got your ear on the first film, because I didn't get to do this diatribe years ago when I saw that one. See, I think Todd Phillips despised the response that so many people had to the first flick. It seems to me like he was clearly trying to pay homage to Marty Scorsese by sort of nesting this mental health story inside comic book world trappings. But for him, the film was about a world that lacked empathy, the people left behind, and what happens when, we aren't properly loved. But instead, many watchers of the first film found it to be, and look, I'm like the 4,000th person to say this, so I'm not claiming this as my own original thought by any means. I don't know, like an incel manifesto, a call to arms, all of those things. But what's funny is that this isn't why I disliked the first film at all. Didn't even hit my radar, really. For me, it was 2 things. One, I just said it. This is a straight up highway robbery of Marty's taxi driver and the already mentioned The King of Comedy. Like, tell an original story, man. The visual aesthetic of Gotham is awesome. I read so many people praising it, but here's the thing: it's just the grimy '70s New York City of Scorsese. I mean, whole plot lines are borrowed from it. That kind of thing is reprehensible to me. But if you feel differently, cool. And the second thing isn't really Phillips' fault at all. It's this damn IP machine that we have now. Like, why does that film even need to be set in the DC universe in the first place? Why not just tell a great story about mental health from an original perspective? Why? Well, because studios won't finance it. And why won't they finance it? Well, because tons of people won't go see it. And to me, that's the tragedy of the original Joker. The loss of the beautiful Hollywood middle. The original story told by an auteur with niches and idiosyncrasies Like most of the great pictures that I grew up with in the 90s. Okay. Rant on Joker concluded. Rant on Folie Deux commencing now. Look, whatever the case may be, I don't think Phillips liked how his first film was processed and perceived, and so he decided to hit back with the sequel. Again, I'm not original on this, but I was so happy to read other people saying what I felt as soon as I put this one down. Um, put this one down. That's an interesting choice of words given how the film concludes. Anyway, I see Folie Deux as an intentional provocation of its viewers, which is you and me. And again, I'm the dumb cuck who's falling for it and is sitting here really royally pissed off about it. So to repeat, if that fringe response was something like, society treats me like shit, I did something about it, so I'm kind of an anti-hero, aren't I? So Phillips' response back seems to be, who, this guy? Yeah, bunk that. He sucks. You suck for liking him. He's weak, disturbed, pathetic. Don't admire him. Pity him. And if this insinuation isn't enough, now drink this long, mind-numbingly dull musical medicine. So that was a little tie-up of drink your milkshake from There Will Be Blood and get your shine box from Goodfellas. So that's what he gives us. And like I said, it's hot garbage. See, it's a musical, yeah. But in great musicals, the song advances the story, right? Characters aren't quite sure how to express their big, deep feelings inside, or we need something communicated to the audience, so we spontaneously burst into song. And the film moves on. But here is the opposite. The film grinds to a halt with each of these numbers. The words are incredibly obvious. They never illuminate anything. And this was my issue with Annette, too, from a couple years back, the Leo Carax film. This like descriptive singing about mundane things as we move around sets and in between rooms. But there, at least the production design, the choreography, even some of the melodies were interesting. Here, they're just deliberately god awful. And in fact, when that musical aspect, what it does is it allows Phillips to essentially bifurcate his main character into two halves. I mean, and this is what the trial, with which becomes the centerpiece of the latter half of the film, is supposed to be about: the defense of insanity. I'm two people, really. I'm Arthur and the Joker. That latter guy, he did those things. But of course, Phillips cuts all that off at the knees as the film rounds third for home. We'll get there. But the point is that the musical numbers are escapist fantasies of the Joker character seeking love, while the real story is this miserablest slog of almost anti-drama. And because it's the character's imaginations that we're getting, because the director never lets the elements discussed in the songs ever touch real life, it's a real, like, never the twain shall meet thing between the real movie and those dance musical numbers. It just basically, the song settings are these black backdrops, which to me is just an insane choice because the film is supposed to be about wrestling with whether Arthur can be separated from this iconic alter ego that he's created. Now, I've said it before, but let me say it again. There's nothing fun here, nothing crowd-pleasing, nothing interesting. And to double down on this, he casts the most powerful powerhouse singer on the planet in Lady Gaga, right? I mean, if you listen to any of her interviews, the gig is up. She basically says she had to train to not sing well. This is true. You can find it. It's a total bait and switch. Lady Gaga is here, guys, to sing in lower register talky voice so she can bounce off old Arthur doing the same. I mean, no shots to Joaquin. He's doing the best he can to carry a tune. But if that whole thing is not a middle finger to the audience, I don't know what it is. Or I should say, I don't know what is. And you can get even kind of meta about it when you contrast who she's playing in this film with what she's doing in A Star is Born, for instance. Just wild stuff with the musical. And I mentioned the trial too. That's basically what the film becomes, a courtroom drama, which, look, I can point to 50 courtroom dramas that I love. I can't think of a single one of them that are basically just an interminable procession of people expo dumping and events from the first film on us. Again, no commentary, but that's what this one is. So you say, okay, Nick, well, is this all bad? No, it's not. And I think that's why I'm pissed off. I think that's why I'm frustrated. The old style animated WB cartoon, like something from the Looney Tunes, is a super cool opening. And thematically, it kind of captures what the film is about in like 5 minutes. Better than what you'll see in the next 2 hours plus, which might be a problem. The cinematography is still really dope, even though I feel like, again, this is stolen from far better pictures, like I said, but to each his own. And I'll at least give the conclusion credit for changing things up. Spoiler alert if you still haven't seen this one, but the courtroom bombing launches us into a dynamic oneer as we follow the Joker out of the room into meeting some of his acolytes and some of this sort of mob mentality groupthink thing that we're getting kind of on the fringes of the film throughout. Like, it's great stuff, honestly. I just happen to like it better in Children of Men. But, it's well done. So there are good things. The performances aren't bad either. And the scene in the courtroom with the little guy that comes in and talks about how Arthur was his friend and the devastation, that's an excellent scene. It's the best scene in the film to me by far. And yeah, like some of the numbers are based on actually really great tunes, Sinatra and etc. But I don't think you're supposed to enjoy a single one of them. So yeah, not all bad. And I actually kind of say, I'm going to say it, guys. I kind of get why Phillips may have gone down the road he does. I mean, thematically, this movie is a bold and stentorian rejection of the idea that its symbol, right? Like, think of Joker as a symbol rather than the call to Batman in the sky in Gotham. It's a rejection of the idea that that symbol, the Joker, should be embraced rather than simply pitied for the broken shell of a man that he's become. I can dig that. I mean, there's even some good social commentary here. I would agree. I would argue on what people expect from their idols, what fame is supposed to mean. Like, hey, man, we need you to be our shining star clown. Stand here as a bastion of our anarchic urge to watch the world burn. I mean, that's powerful stuff. We do that with our stars all the time. The idea that there's some kind of collective unconscious fantasy, which isn't even really Arthur Fleck's. It's bigger than him. And he's teasing at that in the second half of this film. So no, he's actually becomes a pawn in this dream of destruction rather than the agent of anarchy, rather than the agent of anarchy, like what we see in Ledger's Joker, for instance. I love that. That's awesome. The trouble isn't his mentality per se. It's that there's no more sophisticated analysis or insights to glean from it. And so what we're left with is cold nihilism, which I guess is something, again, that Ledger's Joker, for instance, would have been proud of. But it does absolutely nothing for me in the face of such a woe-begone watch. Just painful. It's an I Hate You movie of the, or hates its audience film of the highest caliber. So in the end, I mean, Phillips is clearly great at tearing the house down. What I'm trying to figure out is how he's trying to put it back together again. And in the absence of that, I'm forced to conclude that the film is basically just a giant middle finger to us all. A picture that perversely denies any pleasure or connection to its audience. And its ending is kind of the ultimate conclusion of that. Again, spoiler, if you're still with us and haven't seen it, as this arch villain character is just unceremoniously discarded on the ground. It's kind of fitting, too, because I felt like a little bit of me died with him when the credits finally rolled on this one. Actually, maybe I felt like I should check my pulse again now that the lights finally went up. So there you got it, guys. That's it. That's my rant on Folie. Deux. There you have it. I guess the only thing we got to discuss, because that's what I do, is my rating for this picture. Unsurprisingly, FOF gives Joker Folie Deux a paltry 1.5 out of 5 stars. Hey, if you enjoyed this review, you can check out our YouTube channel, maybe subscribe, hit that little notification bell so you know about new episodes. Check out our weekly podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple and Spotify at this time. We try to bring you new content. We love comments and feedback from you all. I would love to hear. I'm sure somebody's going to come off the top rope with how incredible this was. And yes, Phillips won. He beat you, Furman. He pissed you off. And that's what he was trying to do. Yeah, it worked. Thanks for watching and or listening. I'm Nick Furman. This is Furman on Film. Stay firm, my friends.